just in case taking derivatives wasn't enough fun, notice that a derivative is itself a function. So we could take the derivative of a derivative. We call that a second derivative. If y prime is dy dx, or we might use the notation f prime of x, if that's the first derivative of y with respect to x, then y double prime, or d squared y dx squared, or dy prime dx, or ddx of dy dx, these are all second derivatives, the derivative of the derivative. We can continue on, we can take the third derivative, we can keep taking derivatives as long as the derivative exists to take. So just notice that once you get to the fourth derivative, instead of putting an extra hash mark, we say, okay, this is the fourth derivative, and you put the number 4 in there. I have never seen anything higher than a fourth derivative on the AP test for sure, and I think I've never seen anything higher than a third derivative. So some examples. This first one, this notation means take the fourth derivative of negative 5x to the eighth plus 2x to the sixth minus 9x cubed plus 32x minus 1. There is no shortcut to take the fourth derivative except to take the first derivative and then to take the second derivative and then the third and then the fourth. So I'm going to keep my my work clean here. Would have been nicer if I'd named this function. So let's say that y is this function I've asked you to take the derivative of. So I'm going to label my results so that we can keep track. Y prime is going to be the first derivative. So that 8 is going to come down to the front. It's going to be negative 40 x to the 7th plus 6 times 2 is 12 x to the 5th minus 3 times 9 makes 27 x to the 2nd plus 32. That's y prime, the first derivative. I need to take the second derivative now. The second derivative is going to be 7 times negative 40 is negative 280 x to the 6th plus 60 x to the 4th minus 54 x to the 1st. So I could just write x. 54, that was from the exponent 2 coming to the front to multiply the 27 that was there. If I want to take the third derivative, I would have to stop and figure out what 280 times 6 is. All right, so y triple prime is negative 1680 x to the 5th plus 4 times 60 is 240 x cubed minus 54. I've been asked to find the fourth derivative, so here it is, it's coming. This is why the fourth derivative is going to equal whatever 5 times 1680 is. 8400 x to the 5th plus 720 x squared. The fourth derivative. So the thing to note there, they won't have you do that kind of multiplication on the AP test with that unless it's a calculator section. And just notice that the only way to get to the fourth derivative is to take those derivatives one at a time. All right, so this next one's an important example. It would not be uncommon to be given a function and be asked to find its second derivative. Well, okay, so we know from that last example the only way to get there is to start by finding the first derivative and then taking its derivative. So here we go. F prime of x is the first derivative. This is a quotient, so I'm going to have to use the quotient rule. X minus 1 times low times the derivative of the high is 1, minus x times the derivative of the low is 1, all over x minus 1. I make a big deal about not needing to simplify your answers on the free response section. Just notice it's going to be a giant mess to try to take the second derivative if I don't stop and simplify this expression. So I'm going to recommend very strongly that we first simplify this. That's going to be, I'm going to distribute the 1. So x minus 1 minus x over x minus 1. There's no advantage to multiplying that denominator out, but I'm going to have my x's are going to cancel. That's positive x and a negative x is going to leave me negative 1 over x minus 1. squared. Now I can find the second derivative without a whole bunch of extra expressions lying around. So my f double prime of x. Alright, so low d high minus high d low. Notice my d high, the derivative of -1 is 0. The derivative of low, now I actually realize I do have to multiply that out. We'll learn a shortcut later so you wouldn't have to. Sorry, I keep running out of disk space. So here we go. F double prime. We can talk about it in class if you have questions about how to find